Hello, my lovely and beautiful people. Thank you for being here with me at this um, sixth class of the Mindfulness, Meditation, and Manifesting course. I am Jenna Allin, and you can get a better introduction to the course and to myself on video 1 or some of the other videos I have recorded for my clients and prospective clients. Today we are going to be doing mindfulness of sound. So you may need you would want to be in an area that has some sound to it, right? Whether you're in nature, or you're in a busy place, or maybe you just crack your window open or sit in your car outside with the window cracked, or sit at a park or whatever that is. So if you want to pause this recording and find yourself in a noisy place, that will be very helpful for us today. But we're going to have we're going to go over some things first. So you don't want to be in a place that's too loud that you can't hear me. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk today about the storytelling mind. There is an ancient Tibetan saying, "The mind is a wonderful servant, but a horrible master." American monk Jack Kornfield says, and you can fill in your sheet if you're filling in your worksheet along with this video, we must understand the power of the stories we tell and differentiate them from the direct experience of life. This way we can use thoughts without being trapped in them. We're going to explore what that means, but let's just sit with that. The first sentence says, we must understand the power of the stories we tell, the power that they have, and differentiate them, separate them from the experience that we're having. Oh, that's so amazing. We're going to find out why that is, right? We want to use our mind, use our thoughts. It's very important. It's our thoughts and our mind can really do some great and amazing things, and more amazing than we think we can when we are using the mind rather than being trapped in it. So imagine that there's this constant companion with you from the time you wake up to when you go to sleep, and it's well-intentioned and decent, but they have this habit of whispering a constant monologue in your ear, and it sounds like this. Oh, this is boring. Hey, do you want to do something fun? Hey, look at her shoes. Who would pay for such ugly shoes? You need a vacation, but you'd better concentrate on paying your credit card bills instead. Why'd your boss put you down in front of everyone yesterday? Maybe you're going to be fired. You never fit in anyway. And stop eating so much. You're fat, right? Who would hang out with that person, really? Who would hang out with that person anymore after they spent a day with that in their ear, right? So it's easy to see that how hearing this constant stream of commentary would affect the experience of your life, right? It would make you grumpy, it would make you feel bad, and you'd probably be pretty agitated with anybody who was trying to interact with you, right? This commentary contains varying observations, worrying about the future, rehashing past events, and an assortment of malicious judgments about you and the world around you, right? So fill that in on your sheet. Imagining our mind as a constant companion beside us throughout the day can help us keep those observations, worries, and judgments at a distance, detaching from the content of our thoughts. So we have constant companion and detaching from the content, or the important parts you want to tune into on your sheet, right? And what happens is our thoughts that all sound like that bullshit I just read you, we start to believe that they are an accurate representation of how our lives in the world, quote, really are. We start to believe our thoughts, that they are facts, that they're an accurate representation. But really, the reality is that they are just thoughts. So on your sheet, our constant stream of thought drives our mood states and body tension. We not only tolerate its badgering, but we are seduced and mesmerized, and we even come to believe its ruminations, judgments, and worries are fact. I'm going to read that one more time. Our constant stream of thought drives our mood states and body tension. We not only tolerate this badgering, but we're seduced and mesmerized, and we even come to believe its ruminations, judgments, and worries are fact. That's horrible, right? That's horrible. Let's talk a little bit more about the storytelling mind. This constant stream drives our mood states, and it's not, but with mindfulness practice, it lets us see into the stream of thoughts, right? We've come to believe our ruminations, our judgments, our worries, but mindfulness lets us see into this stream of thoughts, and we soon learn to identify them as just so. Not reality, not the way things, quote, really are, and not who we are. We can be pulled deeply into the constant chatter of the mind. Those stories, they seduce us, they pull us into a narrative that's likely inaccurate, and that pulls us away from the sensory experience of the present moment. Right? So that's on your sheet too. Without mindfulness, we get pulled easily into the most likely inaccurate narratives and away from the sensory experience of the present moment. We talked in class 3 about the breath being our direct connection to the senses, the sensations of the moment, right? We've done a body scan. So we want to be in the sensory experience of the moment. We've been practicing that. The thoughts can pull us away from the felt experience, right? That sensory experience, the felt experience of being fully in our miraculous lives, right? One example is back pain. We all have a story about our backs, and whether it's about our backs or about our friend or about a family member or about our job or the government or the effect of something on this or that, the story is not always aligned with the sensory experience of the moment. Our mindfulness practice will allow us to look more deeply at our thoughts in a kind and non-judgmental way. So back to the back pain, if you have a history of back pain, you likely have a story about your back. And even if there's no history, you likely still have a story of how your back is, right? And so on your sheet, it'll say, the story my mind is telling is not always aligned with the sensory experience of the moment. It also says on your sheet, my mindfulness practice allows me to look deeply at my thoughts in a kind, non-judgmental way, and I learned that thoughts and stories are always present, but not always true. Right? The thoughts and the stories, they are always there. They're going to be there. They're there. They're there till the day you die. Buddha actually, till his deathbed, fought with his stories and his narratives, even though he was, quote, enlightened, right? But the enlightenment is in the fact that he could see that it was stories and bullshit. But his mind still had them, even though he spent years and years meditating and teaching other people to meditate and all of that. He still had them. It actually is, there's a story of the story of his death is that on his deathbed, Mara, the serpent, came to visit him. And Mara represents the stories, the narratives, the guilt, the shame, the malice, the judgments, and all of that. On his deathbed, he was still fighting that. And we will too. We will too. But the enlightened part is to say, Oh, those are stories. Oh, that's the mind. Silly mind, right? Without judgment, without judging. We talked about that in course 3, the ability to just say, oh, that's silly mind, rather than, oh, there it is again, those stupid stories. Why do I keep judgment? That's not kindness, right? A kind, non-judgmental way is really what we're going for here. We're going to skip this slide, but I have an Oracle board workshop that's really amazing, and I teach it a couple times a year. And if you want more information on doing a spiritual collage, just let me know. I do them for individuals and groups as well. And let me tell you a little bit more about that. It's where we make not a pretty work of art or like a vision board of our dreams and goals. This is a board that tells us about our goals. And we do a guided meditation. We meet our spirit animal. We find and we place our images on the board intuitively, not with thought, not to be pretty. And we take a shamanic journey through the 4 directions. For example, in Native cultures, the South represents the inner child and what you're shedding, and the East represents your relationship with structure and the masculine in your life. And so we randomly place the images, and then we look back at them and see what is spirit trying to tell us from the image in the North, South, East, West, and whatever that is, which is magical and amazing, by the way. Okay, I said we were going to skip it, but it was just too magical to skip. All right. The practice that we are going to do today, we're getting there, so you might want to start to get a little bit comfy. But the practice we will do today will touch on those stories that our mind tells. We're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness of sound before we start the meditation. You're going to want to be in an area that has some sound, nature, a busy place, an open window, right? So just like the body scan uses sensation in the body as an anchor to the present moment, the sensory experience of sound is used as an anchor to the present moment in the mindfulness of sound method or mode or strategy of mindfulness. Sound can be better than the breath for some people. Maybe somebody has COPD, asthma, history of drowning, general anxiety disorder, things like that, and the breath, focusing on the breath, is not a positive thing for them, or not something they want to do. So mindfulness of sound is a good alternative, feeling into the sensations of the feet or hands, things like that, right? The use of our senses to come fully into the moment. And now we're learning the use of the sense of sound to come fully into the moment with kind awareness. On your sheet, if you're filling that in, it says, in mindfulness of sound, we use the sensory experience of sound as our anchor to the present moment, our anchor, right? Just like the body and the body scan, or the breath and mindfulness of breathing. That anchor is just, oh, okay, this is where I am. I go back to that. I'm anchoring myself in the present, because when my mind starts to go and go and go, I'm lost up in the sky of the mind, and I'm not anchored down here in reality, right? Because those stories, they aren't real. That's not reality. So being in the mind means we're not even here. We're not even here and present to our lives. So we want to be anchored in, right? So in mindfulness of sound, our task is to notice the soundscape of the present moment. It is not to interpret the sound or identify what might be making the sound. And we don't have to extend our sense of hearing to seek out a sound, right? We don't have to like, oh, I don't hear anything. Wait, let me try and hear something. We don't have to extend to try and seek out sound. That's striving, right? That goes back to, again, that 3rd class. And so what do we do if we're not trying to hear sound? We allow the sounds of the moment to just simply come to us. And we move into a state of just falling into receptivity versus striving and seeking. And that's what it will teach us, doing mindfulness of sound, is how do I fall into a space of receptiveness, of receptivity, right? And as we practice this over and over, we get better and better at not striving, not seeking, right? So you want to become receptive to the soundscape, and you want to embody a posture of receptivity, which we will hit on when we're in the meditation. And being receptive, right? If we are practicing being receptive, then we're going to receive more in our lives. We're going to receive more from our relationships. We're going to receive more because we're practicing receiving. Maybe we'll receive more money. Maybe we'll receive the thing or the experience that we've been waiting for, because now we've been practicing receiving, and we're sending the signal to the universe, hey, I want to sit and receive. I want to sit and do nothing and receive, right? That's freaking awesome. Okay, so go ahead and put everything down that you're doing and get comfortable. We're going to do mindfulness of sound now. Taking a moment to sit in an upright and dignified posture with both of your feet flat on the floor. Maybe having a sense that your body is supported yet at ease, right? And allowing the eyes to close, or simply softening the gaze if that feels better for you. Noticing what is here for you right now in your experience. And letting yourself just be as you are. What's here to notice? We can notice the feelings and sensations in the body. We can notice what our mind and our emotions might be doing. And as best you can, taking your attention to your breath. Noticing each breath and sensing how the chest rises on the inhale and falls away on the exhale. Observing this breath right here. Just like before, using your breath as your anchor to the present moment. That means each time your mind wanders away from the breath, simply noticing it, and without judgment, bring your kind and loving attention back to the breath. Kind attention. Yay, I noticed I was thinking. Back to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Observing the rhythm and the quality of the breath just as it is. No need to control or manipulate the breath in any way. We control enough shit in our lives. We simply allow the breath to breathe with its own natural rhythm. And now, as best as you can, change the anchor of your practice from the breath to notice the sounds all around you. Directing the attention to the soundscape that surrounds you, to the sensation of sound. Sound is the perfect object of mindfulness, as we hear only the sounds of this moment. We don't hear the sounds of the past or the future. Right now, just noticing the variety of sounds being heard in this moment. There's no need to identify a particular sound, label it, or try to figure it out in any way. That would be back in the mind, right? We're just noticing the quality of the sound. Observing the sounds of each moment. Noticing where your mind is right now. Has it bounced into the future? Into planning what's yet to come, or rehearsing the past? Rehashing, sorry. Just noticing where your attention goes in the silent moments. Gently, with kindness, bringing your attention back to the soundscape that's all around you. And there's no need to reach out and search for sounds. You're falling into receptivity now. Perhaps without really moving, having the intention to lean back just the slightest bit. And you can imagine placing the attention right at the opening of your ears and let the sounds come to you. Each time the mind wanders away, kindly bringing the attention back to the sounds of this moment. The sounds around you are the sounds of this very moment. Notice them. Perhaps you might also notice an automatic sense of liking some sounds more than others. Birdsong might register as more pleasant than the rumble of a garbage truck. Just notice this. Notice this judgment. Everything is actually just the sound of the moment. It's only a wave of sound. First, there's only the sound itself, and then the liking or disliking of it. The judgment that it's good or bad. You, as the one who's hearing, adds the interpretation and the judgment if there's any. So letting it be just as it is. You may notice some sounds are quite close to you. Other sounds are off in the distance and might be very far away. And if you pay very close attention, you may notice there are even sounds inside your own body. Using the soundscape as an anchor to this moment of your life, right here, right now. And as happens sometimes or often for some people, perhaps you're repeatedly distracted by another physical sensation, an emotion, a thought. If it seems particularly sticky, you can try labeling the experience, such as, this is itching, or this is the planning mind. Simply labeling whatever your experience is in the moment. And then, without judgment, returning your attention as best you can to sound. What do the sounds of this moment feel like? Just shifting the attention back to sound if there's ever any distraction. Noticing any judgments, thoughts, or stories about the sound. Noticing that as mind chatter, storytelling, as judgments. And then bring it back to the sensation of sound. And now shifting again, moving the attention away from the sounds and back to the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Resting in the observation of the breath and your own good company. Each time the mind wanders away, coming back to the breath. This breath right here. Breathing in, breathing out. Right here in this moment. And in a moment, we're going to come back to the present and open our eyes. But first I want you to set the intention that as you do begin to open your eyes and move back into awareness around you, what happens in the mind? Do you resist coming out of meditation? Are you relieved that meditation is over? Do you have thoughts that rush in? Do you want to talk or move, or just being aware? So go ahead and take a moment to open the eyes and come back into this moment. And just notice the mind in this moment. We're going to wrap up the session. And as always, we have self-empowerment opportunity on the back or the second page of your sheet. And you can fill in all the other things just as we always have. And looking at the bottom, how are you going to improve your meditation practice? I want you for the next week at least to add mindfulness of sound to lengthen your practice. So you might ground into the body for a few seconds or a few minutes. Then you might do 5 to 15 minutes of mindfulness of breath. Then you might do 5 to 15 minutes of a body scan. Then you might do 5 to 15 minutes of mindfulness of sound. You've got a solid 20 to 45 minute practice there. If you have 5 minutes of each of those things, that's a 20-minute practice. And you don't want to get too caught up in the perfectionist mind that wants to say, oh my gosh, it has to be exactly 5 minutes and checking the time and all of that. You want to be mindfully doing that, right? And then think about how else you will improve your practice. You're going to vary it up. You're going to add some mindfulness of sound in there. But maybe, one of those other check boxes at the bottom, maybe you need to find a better location or play with the time length or not timing your meditation or being more consistent with it, attending some kind of meditation class or anything like that. Remember, mindfulness only works if you work it. We can't intellectualize this. We've got to feel it and do it in order for it to work. We just think about it, we read about it, we understand the concepts. That's not enough. It's not what's going to make the healing and manifestation difference in our life. This has been Mindfulness, Meditation, and Manifesting, and I am Jenna Allin, always here helping you to embody your divine inner warrior, because we all have an innate healer and master manifester within us, and learning to embody this aspect of ourselves brings us peace, brings healing, and new levels of success and manifestation. I work with clients and I help them to heal and resolve the issues that keep them from living an embodied life, living in the present moment, because we all have triggers, some of us 1,000 times a day, especially us with mental illness, that keep us spinning in that mind space rather than being able to feel into that intuition, respond with tact and skill and inner wisdom and love and compassion. And I help my clients to define their sacred purpose and live according to their divine assignment. Our sovereignty is our freedom to be who we are in any moment. And the mind, it's our self-governance. And we can only truly embody our sovereignty if our mind isn't caught up in past reactions, responses, sabotaging patterns, and all of that. So message me or pass along the information to anyone who wants to experience a free 30-minute sample Soul Warrior session. And how you can reach me is on here. Keep meditating and be well. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.